Hello and welcome to Writing vs. Programming. My name is Kim. I'm a computer scientist who loves writing, and today I will present to you a writing exercise which I will call Prompts and Timer because it works with prompts and a timer. So first off, what is a prompt for those of you who don't know? Well, prompt as a verb means moving into action. And that's what a prompt as a noun is supposed to do. It's supposed to move you into action, your inspiration, and spark some intuition or inspiration about what you want to write. This is the standard writing exercise we do in our writing group every week. And it works as follows. We draw a random prompt, or sometimes someone proposes one, and then we set a timer for 15 minutes in which we write, and then we read the result in turns. So everything you need for this exercise is of course a timer, which now every phone has today, and furthermore you need prompts, which are equally easy to get since there are so many prompt generators online. So here, for example, we have a character generator which generates, well, characters, and you can just click the button randomly and get new characters. Here we have an inspiration generator which returns rather absurd, vague sentences, which can be great for writing a mysterious or vague piece or just an abstract description of some feeling. Not everything has to be a valid sentence or perfectly understandable. Here we have a situation generator, or just a prompt generator which starts a sentence and then you can continue the sentence, or here you even can generate a whole list of prompts. By the way, Wikipedia also has the option to choose a random article. So, for example, you just click this link and then it gives you some random article. And this is also a great opportunity to get inspired and write about something you've never heard of. And one last idea, this is a page which generates you a random place on Google Earth. So you can just click play and be anywhere on Earth, which gives you a picture of a place somewhere, which is just amazing as inspiration, I think. The links I will put, of course, into the description. You can, of course, also collect your own prompts. For example, in my writing group, we do have a Telegram bot where we can add stuff and then draw stuff randomly. And whenever we encounter something weird or absurd or inspiring, we just add it to this list. And we've got over 400 entries in there, and it's continuously increasing. And so we have more prompts than we will ever write. And at some point, I do want to make a video on how to do Telegram bots, and if I do so, I will link it somewhere here. But until then, just use a piece of paper or maybe some other Word document or anything where you can collect stuff and find it afterwards works. So, when might this exercise be helpful for you? It might be helpful if you, for example, struggling with staring at a blank page. If you just have 15 minutes to write, you don't have time to stare at the page for 15 minutes. You just have to start writing, and it doesn't matter what you write, as long as you're writing, because if you start writing, then everything else falls into place. And so this exercise can help you overcome this first hurdle of starting to write something. Also, it helps when you struggle with perfectionism. If you just have 50 minutes, then you don't have time to optimize every single sentence. It's about finishing something with maybe a little story arc in 15 minutes. So what you write is not necessarily perfect, and it doesn't have to be. So in the end, it might be rubbish, but it also might be a very interesting piece of flash fiction. Also, in such a short time period, you can write something completely ridiculous, which you would never write in a longer piece. Or it's just 15 minutes, so who cares if it's absurd and if it doesn't make sense, as long as you have fun with it. Even if you don't like the story now, maybe you'll like it in 2 months, or maybe someone else will like your story. And even if you don't like it and no one else likes it, maybe it was just good to write something physically and do something with your hands. And even if this doesn't help, at least you know in the worst case what type of story does not work for you. So about my personal experience. When I tried this exercise first, I was very doubtful of how it would go. I thought I can never write something in 15 minutes. It's just too short. I always struggled with short fiction, and everything I wrote kind of turned into a novel. So 15 minutes seemed an absurdly short time period. And I was really surprised how it worked out. So I did manage to write a story in these 15 minutes. Of course, it wasn't perfect, and the arc is, well, yeah, there was an arc, but it was more than I ever thought to accomplish in 15 minutes, and it was shorter than everything I wrote before. So I think it's really worth trying, even though you think beforehand, that can never work. In my experience, it turns out very differently than you first expect. Of course, you can alter this exercise however you like. I mean, if you need more time than 15 minutes, use more time. If you draw a prompt that doesn't work for you, use a different prompt. You can also use different things despite prompts as kind of prompts. So for example, in my writing group, we sometimes alter the form. We write a poem instead of a text, or we set the exercise to write in second person instead of anything usual. Or we take a picture instead of a text prompt, or we set a genre to write in. So basically you can alter this exercise however you like. The important thing is that it works for you. So, and as last thing for today, I brought you some examples. The other people from my writing group were so nice to provide some example texts. So now we have here the prompt, working on all levels of the tree, and we've got 4 completely different stories for that.
The tree of life is inhabited at all levels. From its roots, which reach deep into the past and the world of the spirits of the dead, up to its crown, whose branches can glimpse the possible futures within reflections on clouds or the changing of the winds. There are many levels to the tree of life, and life on all of them. Though beings on different planes of existence rarely meet or interact, they are still all connected by the tree's veins, the energy that flows through them, and simply the tree itself. And the tree of life is ever-changing, by its own needs, as well as it shapes itself to the needs and wishes of its inhabitants. It's a beautiful thing to look at, unlike every other. It looks like a giant old tree, but at the same time very young. It is so tall that one can only see either the roots or the crown. The crown grows leaves nourishing and healthy. On its bark, all kinds of plants rank up, all in perfect symbiosis with the tree. Some say its roots reach to the center of the world. Some even say that the world grew out of them, that the world is another of the planes of existence nourished by the tree of life. There is no real proof for or against this theory, though some claim that the proof is the lack of interaction with the other levels of the tree, and ventured out to find them. None were successful, but there are those that haven't yet returned.
All we need is a pencil, paper, and patience. We may begin by drawing the stem and add as many branchings as we like. Another way to start is to sketch a silhouette of a tree, or by drawing a system of roots. The way we choose to begin is not very important. We may try out different ways for a bit, maybe for different kinds of trees. Once we got started in some way, we add more and more details. More branchings, more layers of branchings in the back and the front of the tree, and leaves.
The group slowly approached the chest, standing alone in the far back end of the old stone chamber. Timon, the fighter, carefully placed the tip of his blade on the top of it, ever so slightly piercing into the wood. Everyone held their breath for a moment, waiting for anything to happen, but no trap seemed to have been set off, no defense mechanism activated, no monster jumping out of the corner. Timon then grabbed the edge of the lid and pushed it open. Inside the chest they saw 2 large stacks of old paper that over the years had developed a yellowish tint to it, and on top of one of these stacks there was the singular dusty leather-bound book resting there. The fighter picked it up, opened it, and as he began to read, it went, "We have successfully charted all of the planes of trees. Our scouts reported..."
As a dwarf, you have to work on all tree levels. You can't just see a tree. It's too huge, too wide, too deep. You have to take a look at each level individually. And when you look at each level, you see so much more details. On the lowest level, there are the roots. Thick and strong, they rave through the ground, taking the tree wherever it needs to go. You have to be careful not to get hit by them. But even if they do move, they move slowly. There is enough time for every dwarf to step aside. Just above the roots, the staircase begins. Truncated twigs form a ladder to the higher levels, small enough even for dwarfs to use them. Bigger creatures just jump ahead. Elegant ivy vines join them until they disappear from dwarfs' view. On the first level, there live the merrybugs. Small and in all colors of the rainbow, they decorate the tree like flowers decorate a meadow. On the second level, there live the tree elves. They work on all tree levels and keep the tree as nice as possible. The tree is their walking home, and a forest is nothing more than a tree elf city. On the third level, there live the cloudbirds. Little white fluffy creatures, chirping away while vanishing and materializing constantly. You can't catch them, you can't get rid of them. Like smoke, they stay around, but happy, cheerful smoke. And at last, on top, barely visible to your low-leveled dwarfish eyes, there are the leaves. Sun cover and sound effect at once. Every tree has different leaves, and every tree offers you a different acoustic experience. Together, they play the symphony of nature.
So I really like these examples because they show how diverse this exercise can be. So we've got like a cliffhanger and a description and something with maybe an arc, but it can be lots of different things, whatever you just want to write right now. So let me know in the comments below what variation of this exercise you liked best, and feel free to share your work if you're comfortable with sharing your work.